Well, let me first start by thanking all of you for being a part of this today. We look forward to answering your questions here in a few minutes, and this is an important part of this process. I want to thank Senator Jack Woodford. He's been our campaign chairman from the very beginning and has traveled the length and width of the state with us, and we're just grateful to him for, we're getting closer to Election Day and the campaign's getting a little bigger where he doesn't have to drive us anymore. We actually have somebody driving us now, but he's been phenomenal. I'm so grateful to him for that. And I want to thank Trey for coming all the way from South Carolina. He is a phenomenal member of Congress. He is one of those guys that's up there for the right reason, and that's to make a difference. And more importantly, to do one of the most important things Congress is supposed to do, and that is hold accountable those who serve us in the executive branch. And he has done that and continues to do that, and I'm proud that he's standing alongside us here today. And I'm here today because I want, hopefully, to convince you to caucus for me. We're 5 weeks away of the most important election in a generation. And I know it, and it begins here. The process of replacing Barack Obama, and more importantly, the process of selecting what the future of America is going to be. And I want to be the President of the United States. I want to be the President of the United States, and I want to earn your support. Because I believe I know that this is the single greatest nation in the history of all mankind. There has never been a country like America. It was founded on this very powerful principle. The principle was that our rights don't come from the government. They come from God. From that, the principle that every single human being is equal in the eyes of our Creator, and therefore, all life, at every stage of life, is precious. The result of that was we embraced individual liberty, which made us the freest people that have ever lived. We embraced free enterprise, which made us the most prosperous people that have ever lived. And for over 2 centuries, America has been that country that inspired the world and the place where people would come to from all over the world in search of a better life. And yet, despite all these things that are so special about America, there have always been people in American politics, particularly on the radical left, that have believed something very differently about our country. They believe America is a flawed country in need of radical reform. They've always believed that. These are people that believe that we need more government because we cannot be trusted to make decisions for ourselves or for our family. These are people who believe we need more government engagement in our economy because free enterprise is an unfair system in which only a handful of people make all the money, and businesses can only make a profit by exploiting their workers or by exploiting their customers. These are people who believe and look at suspicion with people that have traditional values. They view Americans with traditional values with great suspicion. People that cling to their guns or their religion, or people that do not trust, or people that do not like those who are different from them. And these are people that believe America is an arrogant global power, a nation that needs to be humbled and that needs to seek atonement for our past around the world. There have always been people that believe this in America. The problem is in 2008, one of them was elected President of the United States. And he has undertaken, in his 7 years of president, a systematic and deliberate effort to redefine this country, our economy, our government, and our nation itself. And the results are the catastrophe we see before us. A government that has taken over the economy, healthcare, and is trying to take over our schools with Common Core. An all-out assault on our constitutional liberties, in particular the Second Amendment right to bear arms and religious liberties in this country, and a foreign policy that can largely be described as this: betray your allies, cut deals with your enemies, weaken your military, and travel the world apologizing for America. The truth is that for 7 years, instead of fixing our problems, Barack Obama and now Hillary Clinton, instead of fixing the problems in America, they hope to change America. And that is why so many people feel left behind. They don't recognize their own country anymore. They feel left behind and out of place and insecure about the future of America. For example, Americans who believe in traditional marriage are now labeled as outdated haters and bigots. If you're pro-life, they say you're waging a war on women. Instead of focusing on people that are working harder than they've ever worked and making less, they are focused on expanding government programs, oftentimes to help people who refuse to work themselves. We know that ISIS is trying to infiltrate people into the United States using the Syrian refugee crisis. But if you say that somehow you want to limit the number of refugees coming, they say, well, that's a hateful thing. We see terrorists beheading people, killing people in San Bernardino and in Paris. And we have a president that believes that climate change is the greatest challenge before the world today. You see that our military cuts are going to leave us with the smallest and the oldest Navy we've had in 100 years. The smallest and oldest Air Force we have ever had. And instead of fighting to fund our troops, he spends his political capital fighting to fully fund Planned Parenthood. This is why people are so disgusted with politics. This is why they feel so out of touch, that government is so out of touch. This is why they are so angry at both political parties. This is why 5 years ago I ignored the Republican establishment. And I ran against the sitting governor of Florida for the United States Senate. And that's why I ignored him again now when they came to me and said, don't run, wait your turn, it's not your time. Wait your turn. Wait for what? Wait, this is not a time for patience after 7 years of Barack Obama. If we do not get this election right, we may not be able to turn back. And we may not be able to turn around the things that are going wrong in this country. This is a time of extraordinary urgency. And that's what this election needs to be about. We need a president in 2016 that is in touch with the people are facing in this country. And let me tell you, I am in touch with what people are facing because I've faced many of these things myself. I want to know, how is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about people living paycheck to paycheck? I grew up paycheck to paycheck. My wife and I have actually lived paycheck to paycheck in the past. I want to know how she's going to lecture me about student loans. I owed over $100,000 in student loans just 4 years ago. I want to know, how is she going to lecture me about how hard it is for parents and families in the 21st century? My wife Jeanette and I are raising 4 children in the 21st century right now. And we have to work harder than ever to ensure that our children, we can instill in them the values that they teach in my church, not the values that they teach in the media or in Hollywood. But we don't just need a president that knows it's wrong in America. We also need a president that knows how we can turn this around. A president who knows exactly what we need to do to make this country that it's better than it's ever been. I do. And when I'm president, I will. It's going to begin on my very first moments in office. I'm going to place my left hand on the Bible and my right hand in the air, and I'm going to take the oath of office. And I'm going to swear to uphold, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And unlike our current president, I will actually mean it. I'll mean it and I'll do it. I will appoint judges and an attorney general that defend the Constitution and the constitutional rights of all Americans, especially the right to bear arms and the right in our religious liberties. When I get to the Oval Office, I will immediately begin the work of undoing the damage Barack Obama has done to the United States. I will repeal every single one of his illegal, unconstitutional executive orders that he has put in place, and I'll do it on my first day in office. That means I'm getting rid of all these crazy overreaches by the EPA. That means we are stopping any and all work on imposing Common Core on this country. That means we're going to stop any and all taxpayer funding of abortions overseas. That means that we're going to continue the work. One of the things I'm going to do on my first day in office is I will put the prestige and power of the presidency behind a constitutional convention of the states. You know why? Because that is the only way that we are ever going to get term limits on members of Congress or the judiciary, and that is the only way we're ever going to get a balanced budget amendment.